Perhaps my mistake was in giving way to the wrong person.
Ang problema sa marami sa ating mga kabansa, at lalo na sa henerasyon namin, mahirap umamin ng mali.
Sa mapag-alang araw po sa ating lahat mga kasangga, talakayin natin ang mga usaping balita at mga isyu na nagaganap sa ating bansa at ito'y ating bigyan ng mga kuro-kuro, komento at opinyon. Ilahad natin ang tunay na pangyayari na dito lang natin mapapanood sa social media na dilingid sa ating kaalaman na ang bang mainstream media ay hindi nila ipinapahayag ang katotohanan. Mga kasangga, kung hindi ka pa nakakasunod sa aking channel, pakipindot ang subscribe at isama mo na rin ang notification bell button para updated ka sa lahat ng ating mga usapin. Panoorin mo ito kasangga. Kung nagustuhan mo, huwag mong kalimutan i-like at mag-komento ng iyong sariling opinyon.
So gusto ko rin malaman sa inyo from you, sir, kung ano po ba yung dapat pa namin alam o ano po ba dapat na hindi pa namin nalaman during the history po ng Marcos and Marcos.
I was involved in many anti-Marcos groups, but then I was also appointed to government by Corazon si Aquino. However, by 1990-91, I had a revision of my view already that the programs of Marcos were more faithful to the goals of our constitution, our people, our nation, and so that started a transition to speak more of the truths about the Marcos period. Plaza Miranda nabanggit. Let us be zero in on that. Everybody believed, even I, when I was young, I was in a car with several activists, and yung radyo, nagkukwento, nagre-report na tungkol sa Plaza Miranda. Ang sama naman ni Marcos, ganyan, may batang namatay, Senator Iladen and so on, halos naputol ng paa. But years later, kasi naging secretary ko ni late Senator Rojas, tatay ni Mar Rojas. So, nasa inner circle meetings ako. Biglang narinig ko. Brad, sabi ni Salongo kay Jerry Rojas, mukhang si Ninoy kasama doon sa Plaza Miranda. So, this is a personal inside story ko na nag-uusap yung mga biktima ng Plaza Miranda. Hindi pa nila kinikwento sa publiko. Pero sila mismo nagdududa. Bakit wala si Ninoy doon? Bakit naka-flak jacket siya when he arrived? Nung nakatihaya na ang mga tao. Nagdadama na siya sa media. Paradigm shift sa akin yun. Ganito pala sa loob ng usapan itong mga oposisyon kay Marcos. Lumalabas, nakikita ko ang totoo. And so, but eventually, Salonga in his book in the 1990s na, mid-1990s, sinabi niya sa libro. Sila Joe Masiso na may gawa nito. And it was a very brilliant move. Ang galing talaga. Pero suportado ng mainstream media. Si Marcos yan, si Marcos yan, si Marcos yan. But Plaza Miranda is a very important case. Jabita Massacre is a very important case where a whole nation and a whole world can be fooled by media, by so-called historians ng Amerika, na suportado ng Amerika, and so on and so forth. There is this Jabita Massacre that you did not mention. Are you aware of it? Yung sinabi daw si Marcos nagsimula ng programa na pag-organize ng pagsasakop ulit ng Sabah, which is of course legally the Philippines, which he really did, they organized, pero walang massacre. And Ninoy himself in the Senate said there was no massacre, although dahil opposition siya, maganda nga na magamit niya yung issue, pero inamin niya na wala namang massacre. But why did the papers carry this, and up to today tawag nila massacre? Because the Chronicle then was owned by the Sorianos. The Herald, I think, was owned by the Lopezes. But anyway, the oligarchs owned the mainstream media, and so on. So, in-encourage ni Marcos yung development of our own industries. At that time, we were producing our own mga tela. We had many textile industries. We were even growing grapes in Ilocos and in Mindanao. Sariling Yung iba, simula, maasim pa. Pero of course, you're starting to develop. Then, ang dami ng infrastructure project for energy. Unhappy ang Amerikano sa mga ginawa ni Marcos, yung pagbawas sa kanilang poder sa Pilipinas. At the same time, the local oligarchs. The Lopezes owned Meralco. So ito naging isang problema ang mga Lopez din dahil kalaban din ni Marcos sa politika. I wanted to give emphasis on the car manufacturing program kasi ito ang una sa rehiyon, no? Kasi nga
Kabisado mo yun.
yung mga Toyota na kikita ninyo dito ngayon and so on, ginagawa ng engine block diyan sa Las Piñas. Yung car body sa Mariveles, may Ford stamping plant na malalaking mga press na yung buong body isang bagsak lang, buo na yung body and so on. But what happened after Cory took power? Lahat yan binenta, yung iba sa China. So we were deliberately de-industrialized. Tinanggalan tayo ng kapasidad to produce our own.
Pero sir, ano yung lesson after dun sa...
The lesson of EDSA Uno is that a nation can be manipulated by media, by disinformation, misinformation. The lesson is some institutions are really controlled by the Western powers. The Catholic Church cannot be denied. Throughout history, the Catholic Church is an instrument of the Western powers. Because of the failure of all the promises, 30 years of the Yellows and the anti-Marcos forces, people are taking a second look at Marcos. I took that look much earlier, 1990-91, despite being an official appointed by Cory. I had a more realistic understanding of politics and geopolitics. So, ang problema sa marami sa ating mga kabansa, at lalo na sa henerasyon namin, mahirap umamin ng mali.
Sir, do you regret having given up the chance or the opportunity to serve as a president to give way to President Aquino? Do you ever regret that decision?
I do not regret having made that sacrifice for our country and people, because I do not think any sacrifice can be too great for our country and people. Even our lives, we must be ready to lay down our lives for our country and people. Perhaps my mistake was in giving way to the wrong person. I should have given way to a better person, someone who would have provided the leadership that we now need during these very critical times.
Sir, graft and corruption were always issues against all incumbent administrations, and it seems to be growing worse. What do you think is the solution to this?
The solution is very simple. I think that all that is required is to enforce the laws. We have enough laws, especially laws against graft and corruption. We have the Anti-Graft and Corruption Act. And it's a matter of enforcing these laws. The President is the one duty-bound under the Constitution to faithfully execute these laws. When President Aquino was elected, she took an oath to faithfully execute the laws, which includes the laws on graft and corruption. But these laws on graft and corruption have not been enforced. And it's a matter of enforcement. Until now, we haven't seen any big fish sent to jail. I believe that if we just simply enforce the laws and build bigger jails, we would be able to reduce substantially the graft and corruption that we see now.
What do you think should be the number one priority of this administration?
The number one priority of this administration, or any administration for that matter, should be the maintenance of peace and order. Peace and order is the number one problem of the nation. And you know very well that law and order is not only heaven's first law, it is freedom's first condition. If you do not have peace and order, you will have anarchy and lawlessness, which is what we have today.
So what do you think is the kind of leadership this country needs at this time?
This country needs at this time a strong leadership, because we are going through very critical times. And we need a crisis leader, a leader capable of making hard decisions, a leader who is not content with just making popular decisions, but hard decisions, decisions that are required by the circumstances. We need a leader who is not afraid to be unpopular. We need a leader who is not afraid to even risk his life to do what is good, whatever is good for the country. So a leader during critical times requires at least 4 essential qualities. First, he must be sincere, must say what he means and mean what he says at all times. Second, he must be selfless and always subordinate himself or any interest, any personal interest, any family interest, even the interest of friends, always must be subordinated to the national interest. The third is that a leader must be able to have a clear, a good grasp of the fundamentals of good government, because that is essential to the making of correct decisions. And fourth and last is that a true leader of the people must be able to be in three places at the same time. A true leader must be in front of the people, to lead the people towards a definite direction. He must also be beside the people so that he can feel their pulse and suffer with them and even laugh with them. And third, he must be behind the people so that when people hesitate, he can push them forward. That is what is needed now, such a leader.